we hack the code and flip the tag. Where cliches come to retire. Drop that beat, turn down to fire. Say what's real, make fears take a seat. Unconventional wisdom, dancing on your feet. Hey.
Hey there, welcome to Unconventional Wisdom, about conventional wisdom. I am here today with Ashley Bundis. So excited to hear her story and her trajectory and all the things so that we can learn. And I know that there'll be tons of good things to learn today. So Ashley, I'm going to just hand it over to you to introduce yourself.
Great. Well, and I'm super happy to be here. So thank you for having me. Again, I'm Ashley Bundis, and I'm the CEO and founder of Glitter Sparkle and Aim High Studios. We help different brands shine bright in the marketplace by creating interest media and systems flow, playbooks and campaigns and strategies, etc. So we really help people shine bright by using the latest technology and the best strategy possible.
Love that. We could all use a little more of that. Excellent. All right. So here is your random question for today. Who had the most influence on you growing?
I'm actually going to say my dad.
Okay. Say more.
My dad was an entrepreneur. He was the CEO of Kenza Group, which at the time was one of the leading executive search companies in the country.
Okay.
His specialty was in retail. And I had the extraordinary pleasure of seeing him grow the business. So he ended up having offices around the world. He was in top 20 search firms in Crain's magazine. He was really the ultimate entrepreneur, but mostly the influence really came behind the scenes of what he did to get there and the amount of respect, delight, joy, and charisma he offered on a daily basis. And it was one of those things that throughout my life, as I grew up as a teenager and I got to understand more and learn more, I worked with him, I worked for him. It was something to just learn about what the dedication was to get to where he was, how he had to be one of the best in his field, how he hired the best to accompany him and support him in his endeavor. And really the people who worked with him, their dedication and their loyalty and their enthusiasm every day to be part of this company was something that influenced me for the rest of my life.
I love that. And I think so many entrepreneurs have an opposite story, which is saw my parent or parents have a small business, saw them struggle, said, that's not going to be my story. And it's so wonderful to have such a great role model. Yeah. Yeah. Love that. That's awesome. To start with, I'd love to know what's one piece of conventional wisdom that you followed early on, only to realize later that it was not the right thing for you?
That's a really great question. I grew up in the world because I worked on Broadway first, right? That was one of my first gigs, is to do marketing for Broadway. And the term that I knew really well was fake it till you make it. Put on the hat and face, make sure no one sees what's going on behind the scenes. You have to be flawless. And then over time, I really realized that clients don't really want. They want the honesty. They want you to be curious. They want you to be real. They want you to be human. Yes, they want you to have your crap together. There's no question. But they would prefer the real, honest, authentic Ashley than the, I'm going to put on a show and I'm going to leave you there. So that was really one of the things I learned really early on is, yes, you have to put on a show when you need to put on a show, but when you're really trying to hit your stride with the clients that you have, you need to be real and dynamic and charismatic and authentic. And it's okay to say that you're having a tough time or that things are stressful or that there's an uphill battle that we're going to have to get through together. That's all real and normal. And it's much better to say that than to make like everything is okay all the time.
What is it? Under promise and over deliver. I think we get ourselves in so much trouble oftentimes when we overpromise, right? When we just like, oh yeah, sure. There is the I believe in us, right? Which often is very helpful to motivate the team to get her done, but to not be realistic about what it's going to take to get there is oftentimes a mistake.
And let's be real, right? Marketing is messy, right? Life is messy. And
Yeah.
so when I take on clients, being messy doesn't bother me. I actually prefer it, right? Because it's somewhere where we can at least begin
Right.
in a pile of messy, right? And then we work through it and we feel like we can thrive and we can be successful
Right.
and all those things. So I would rather not perform and be real and outperform with our success.
And also too, Ashley, don't you find oftentimes that people have very unrealistic expectations about marketing and the time frame that it's going to take and the results that people are going to get? And I certainly have fallen victim to that myself.
Let's be real, right? We live in a instant gratification world, right?
Absolutely.
You want something to watch, you have God knows how many choices.
Right.
You want something for food, it can be delivered, you can go out, you can make it at home, someone can give you a box and it's already done for you, right? You want to make friends, there's an app to help you do that. You want to work out and lose weight, there's medicine and or gyms and or other kind of regimens that you can follow right at your fingertips. So when it comes to marketing, people have that same ideation, right? That same feeling of why is it just happening? Why not instant? I really wish I could be called like a magician of sorts, right? Or I could look into my crystal ball and see what the future is going to hold. But that is not reality. But I also think that I try, at least in my business, is I want to understand what their expectations are, right? Because that's really important.
Right.
And then slowly but surely bring them down to earth of what is actually achievable now, what's achievable in a couple of months. And the biggest thing is I think people don't remember, but marketing is all about experimentation. There is no 100%, this is the way you got to go and do it. Everyone is different. So you have to shift a little bit. Now, you can have a playbook that works, which I have, but every single brand is unique. So it's never one size fits all.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Actually, I love that. I was working with a client recently who, and again, I don't coach people on marketing, but it ties in with what you're talking about, which her team said to her, you need YouTube videos. And she listened to her team and she started to interview like fractional CMOs to do all of her social media. And I was just like, what? That is coming in the middle of the conversation. You serve a very niche, very high-end clientele, and I can assure you, they are not looking for you on YouTube. They're watching cat videos on YouTube. They are not looking for financial advice on YouTube at the kind of wealth level that they are at. It was very interesting I think this happens very often. Oh, everybody's got a YouTube channel. You should have a YouTube channel. And it's what?
Because it's kind of like the same thing like TikTok, right?
Oh, yeah.
So many clients I have that are, should I do TikTok? I should do TikTok, right? Let me get on TikTok. And I'm going, one, are you willing to commit? Right? Because the same thing with YouTube. These platforms are based on an algorithm, right? And the algorithm is based on how many times you post.
That's right.
So you have to be consistent. You've got to be diligent. You've got to be novel and what kind of things you're posting. So it is a formula. And I say it's just like working out. Kim, I am not a runner. Are you a runner?
No, nope.
If someone said to me, I need you to run, I would be like, go find somebody else, not me. If you say anything like HIIT or yoga or Pilates or biking or what, that is my jam. I am there for it. But all these like crazy, like massive HIIT gyms with the big weights and not me either. But I know that. And I know there are other things that I can do to make me feel good and make me stand out and all those things, personally speaking. It's the same thing in marketing. TikTok is like running marathons. If that is not your thing and you're not going to commit to running, right, every day to be ready for the race, don't do it.
Yeah.
Something else. There's
Right.
plenty of other things. And it's interesting. I'm in grad school right now and I'm getting my MBA. And it's a very humbling experience, I have to tell you. As an entrepreneur and as an executive who's been in the workforce for 20 years, to go back to school is interesting. But sometimes there's a moment where I go, oh, this reminds me why I do what I do. And I'm currently taking a class on consumer behavior. And it's all about the psychology behind why people make choices, right? And Kim, it's just so telling. We forget. But the whole point of marketing is to disrupt. The whole point of marketing is to stand out. For someone to pay attention to something, that is what marketing literally is.
Right.
And I think we forget that because there are so many things out there. And so when you talk about clients and their expectations, I try to sometimes go back and say, I hear you. You want to do TikTok. You want to do YouTube. You want to do everything. Good for you. Where do you think your consumers will see you most? And they'll say usually, oh, here. Or sometimes they'll say, I don't know. What do you think? And I'll say, let me see. Let's go do a little hunting and gathering. Let's do a little research. And 9 out of 10 times, it's not on those platforms that they think they should be on.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay.
Absolutely.
It
Right.
really is okay. But yeah, those expectations are, they're so big.
Oh, everybody's doing it.
I know.
Yeah. So, like you said, you've been in the workforce for a long time and you've been doing marketing for a long time and you're successful at doing it. What's one thing that under the surface you still struggle with?
Balance.
Say more about that.
I'm still learning that rest is not the opposite of ambition. When people say, don't misunderstand my kindness for being weak, right? I say the same thing about like momentum and about balance of constantly driving.
Right.
I think it's okay to step back. I actually think it's fantastic. And only till I hit a certain age, I'm being honest, did I realize taking a few steps back allow you to really get grounded in your own power. It allows you to observe more. It allows you to take a deep breath. It allows you to be more creative. And I think that by pouring my energy into things that make me happy, but also in a much more well-balanced manner, has made me a better human. It's made me a better executive, and it's definitely made me a better leader. So that balance, and someone actually said it to me really the other day, and they said, it's a difference between working hard and hustling.
Ooh, okay. I love that.
I don't want to hustle.
Okay.
When I was younger, Kim, I was a master hustler.
Oh, I believe it.
Okay. I hustled.
Yeah.
I loved the chase. Like,
That's right.
it was rewarding. It was satisfying. It was exciting. And now I want to work my butt off. There's no question. I am determined and disciplined and all the good things, but I don't want to have to chase, and I don't have to. And I think that's the balance. And then it's the same thing in marketing. What can we do better, smarter? I think perhaps tech to help us versus literally expanding all of our energy so we have nothing left. And that's where we then be creative. That
Right.
doesn't work, right? So how can we save our energy, save our brain space, use the tech to help with the administrative, the low-hanging fruit things that take up time and just effort, right? And then have the ability to work it, think, strategize, perform, execute, find what the trends are, go after them, be the trendsetter. That's what's important.
Yeah.
That's what I still struggle with, but that's something that I'm becoming better about.
I love that. One of my kids last week said to me, Mom, you're always tired, right? Like these days, right? And so what you're saying to me really hits me. I think for me, I haven't incorporated enough downtime because I think right now I'm working hard and playing hard, and there isn't as much time just for rest. So I'm going to take your words to heart here, and I'm going to incorporate a little bit more rest into my routine, right? Rest into my routine. Not just, oh my God, I've been driving myself so hard. Now I need to rest. But how do you rest consistent?
Correct. How do you rest consistently and how do you make time to just be
That's right.
and not do? And I
Yeah.
think for people like us, Kim, we're doers. Do you know what I mean? We're born doers. Like we are validated by the things that we do and what we get out of it and the people we touch and impact and all that kind of great stuff. But there's a lot of energy being given.
That's right.
And my therapist said to me the other day, he said, Ashley, it's like moving the stuff that feels like it's here to moving it to where it feels like it's here. And the space in between is where you shine.
Oh, okay.
And I went, it's the difference between stress and overwhelm. When I'm overwhelmed, I need to take a step back and I have to learn that balance. Being stressed is okay. That's part of just human nature. I don't know people who are like, I have no stress. I'm like, that must be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like in my coaching, when I'm working with people who they'll say to me, oh, I procrastinate when they're presenting as, and that's a problem, right?
Mhm.
And I come from the place of that is a symptom. It is not the problem that needs solving necessarily. And my goal with somebody is never to not get them to procrastinate again, because I think, again, conventional wisdom says you should never procrastinate. Procrastination is bad. From my point of view, you don't do things that don't serve you. That's human nature, right? Now, it will have maybe some negative consequences for you, right? But it is serving you. So the question is, how does it serve you? And then can we use some of the adrenaline that you get from a deadline? And can we just work that back so that you have the motivation without the negative stress?
Okay, let me answer your question. So when was the last time you were bored?
Oh boy. I am not a bored person.
Okay.
I couldn't
And do
tell
you
you.
and do you have people around you that say, "Oh my god, I'm so bored?" Children, teenagers?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. I can't off the top of my head, I can't think, yeah, but
So I only asked you that question because I work with a ton of different, like, educational centers and universities and whatever.
mhm,
They teach that during early childhood, right? They want people to be bored. They want kids to be
mm,
kids should be bored because when you're bored, you notice everything around you.
ah,
And so I only mentioned that when you said, like, the stress and the balance and everything like that. I can tell you when I go on vacation, I say to my husband all the time, "Let's go get bored. Let's be bored." Okay?
yeah,
Because when we're bored, we do so many things not to be bored.
there you go, okay.
Like, it's one of those, like, really fun things that I don't ever remain bored. That's me, because
Right,
I'll pick up a book or I'll watch the beautiful skyline or
right.
whatever it may be. Like, I'll do whatever, but it's an interesting exercise. Oh,
Yeah, that is a really interesting idea. I think it was without going down a rabbit hole, I do think that there are so many good things about technology. I think the I'm bored, I'm scrolling on my phone, becomes a different kind of filler where we're not looking, right, to pick up a book. I don't know, I knit, I sew, to do all these paint, right, to do all these other things. And it's just easy to sit there but one thing I will say is that I actually don't think that all scrolling is bad. And I know that a lot of people mostly follow like their friends and so forth, like on Facebook and Instagram. I follow artists and creators and makers. And so oftentimes, right? So I'm not a big Pinterest person, but because of what I look at on Instagram, the algorithm brings me more of that. So I often am quite inspired, right? Like I have lots of saves in categories of fashion design and textile printing, and I do get my fair share of puppies. I suppose if I was doing it for hours and hours and not doing other things, I would say that probably is not good. But my philosophy, again, same as procrastination, is why are you doing it? Right? What are you getting from it? And potentially, what are you avoiding? Right? By doing that, what are you not doing? Right?
And I think it's almost like the adding some protein into your diet. I'm not saying that social media is protein by any means, but disagree with you somewhat in the sense of I think the scrolling is not the best for people, just mentally and stress wise. I don't think it really helps. But that being said, I think if you are regulated in the sense of, okay, I'm setting my timer, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes to look at social tonight, and I'm going to scroll for 30 minutes. It's like watching a TV show, right? Like you choose to do that. I think
Right.
that's amazing. And I'm with you because my feed is like yours. I'm not trying to compare myself to other people. I'm not
Right.
trying to get like the best GLP-1s or understand the next dermabrasion, whatever. That's not my thing. But I am inspired by people and I love what people put out there as content. I'm mesmerized by it. But very much like going to IKEA, which is like a vortex, right?
It is.
Like you're like, oh my God, there's meatballs and there's chairs and there's, and you like lose your sense of time. I think that's where the problem is. And I don't really know if that was what the intention was supposed to be. So I think it's balanced.
Okay, so balance.
Now,
I agree with you 100%.
yeah.
All right. So if you could rewrite the rule book on leadership,
Hmm.
what's one thing that you would throw away and what would you substitute it with?
I would toss out the word or the phrase stay neutral.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think that leaders are not meant to be Switzerland. I think they are meant to be filled with conviction and passion and compassion and not carefulness. I think especially women and women who are leaders, we are seen unfortunately as too much.
Mm,
I always joke, if I ever wrote a book, I would write the book and it would be too much and loving it because I've always been too much. I've always had more energy. I've always had more ideas. I've always been more creative than the average person. And some people, that was their cup of tea. And some people were like, oh my God, too much. Instead of taking that as a negative, I actually now take it as a positive. Again, age has
yeah,
helped
there
a
you
lot,
go.
for sure. But I think I would replace neutrality with being brave enough to stand for something, being brave enough to talk about the things that are meaningful to you,
Mhm.
that you value, and also being soft enough to listen,
Oh my
right?
gosh, I love that.
I
Yeah,
it
you know what's interesting, Ashley? That came up for me not too long ago. And actually, I am a coach and consultant for the exact reason that you say, because Switzerland is not my country. Let's just say that. So I don't have a pure coaching model where I'm just asking questions and letting you come up with all the ideas. There's some of that, and then there's some suggesting and so forth. What is interesting is this came up, this idea of, for me, came up because I hold a value about giving back. Okay. And it's not something I've ever brought into my coaching before. It's just a personal value I have, and it's something that I do outside of that. I have this online coaching program, and I am working with very successful executive women. And I am helping them be like 10 times more successful than they currently are. And some of what we talk about is your money story, right? And getting comfortable with where you are
Yep.
and having 10 times more and right, all of that. And it was the first time that I was like, I'm not comfortable, like just me as the person running this program, I am not comfortable saying make $10 million a year And listen, I have no value judgment. Like, you want however many Chanel purses or Louis Vuitton purses you want, like, you go for it, right? Like, you want to travel first class, whatever. Like, I have no like skin in the game in terms of like how you use your money. But I was like, as a coach, if I'm going to help these uber successful women 10x what they're doing, then a part of this program has to be like, how are you going to give back?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I really had to sit with it and struggle with it. And I'm like, I can't do this any other way. Now, I don't care what you give to, right? That's something that you'll figure out as a part of this program.
Right.
But I'm not comfortable helping you 10x where you currently are and not bringing that into it, because that is my value, and standing in that for whatever reason. Maybe it doesn't sound like a big deal, but for whatever reason, for me, it felt like a really big declaration.
Understood.
Yeah. And I think because my nature really is like, even though it's so funny because I know that I can be polarizing, but I also have that pleasing part of me, right?
Yep.
And so I think that part doesn't want to wants to be Switzerland.
Right.
And it was like, no, I'm stepping into this, right? Because this feels really important to me and I need to stand in integrity. And that's the only way I can do this. Yeah. But it felt like a big deal to be declarative around that.
I can totally understand that. One of the reasons I've worked with nonprofits my whole life is because I wanted to give back. It was something really important to me that those who are doing good could feel good with with some really great marketing. That has been my motto for forever. I have 3 major values that I've had my whole career: authenticity, discipline, and integrity. I cannot compromise those 3 values no matter what I'm doing, which sometimes gets hard, Kim, because when you're working with clients who say, this is what I'm paying you for, I want you to do it this way, and you know it's wrong. What do you do?
Yeah.
And the clients who also sometimes don't care about giving back. They're in it for the wrong team, but wrong reason. And they have the wrong team doing it. So it's more of a, yeah, I feel you, girlfriend. I think that's great. And I also think it also shows that you have conviction. This is something that you are going to stand by no matter what. And I really believe in that.
Right. Because I think you're probably right. You're not the right marketer for everybody. I'm not the right coach for everybody. If that's not your value, I don't have a judgment around that. Like, you do you, right? Just, I'm not your coach.
It's really interesting. I think the people, and I can pretty much count it on one hand, maybe 2 if I really think about it, of who did not have a good experience with me in my career were people who went against my value system.
Amen to that.
So
Yep.
a very small group of people, but they all had that in common. And before I would feel badly about that, what can I do differently? What do I need to change about myself? I don't think that way anymore because there's
Yeah.
nothing I need to change. It's
Right.
actually not a me thing. It's a them thing.
Yeah. Love
You know?
that.
Yeah.
So what's one unconventional habit or mindset shift that's helped you grow your business, even though it might go against conventional wisdom?
I treat marketing like a rehearsal, right? This is where my theater-ness comes in. Not in the sense of performing, but experimentation, right? You experiment, you test, you bomb, you adjust, you try again, right? These are the things that I've really put into play my whole career, and it's really worked out for me. But marketing, as I said in the very beginning, is about experimentation. It's also about not being afraid to ask the question, what do we do wrong? Where did this not hit? Why is it not latching? Because the smarter marketers are the ones that say, what were the low points and what were the high points? Okay, at this low point, how could we intercept and do something different? Because that would change the whole experience, yeah? So sometimes it's art, sometimes it's content, sometimes it's just the vibe, sometimes it's the wrong audience, right? It's all of those things, or maybe just one of those things. But to me, it's not a weakness to ask the question. It's actually the best. It's one of the most, it's the strongest attribute that you can do is question. what you're doing as a marketer. And
Right.
I think that's how you find the magic before opening night is you just test the crap out of it and you find out something that works and then it goes
Right.
live and then you freeze it.
I think you make such a good point. The way that I would phrase it, which I think is just reiterating what you're saying, is that you got to get curious. And when we get judgy, right, on ourselves and on how we executed something or just the result of something, first of all, what's done is done. And
Right.
second of all, if we hold the judgment, we don't have the opportunity to get curious and then do exactly what you said. Like we can't iterate on it. And maybe it's just one little tweak that needs to happen versus reinventing something all over again. Like,
I am also a big believer in taking risks. Like, I really believe in sitting in discomfort. I believe in taking those risks that are not always suggested, right? Because you never know what's going to be on the other side. It's like going into a cold plunge. There are the people who are going to put their hands in and see how cold it is, maybe put a foot in and be like, oh, hell no. I'm the girl that's just going in
okay,
and I'm in.
love it.
And then I can tell you what the experience is, right? If I want to do it again or not, but at least I try. And
Mhm.
so I think that's the between curiosity and trying new things and being uncomfortable because life is uncomfortable. And marketing is not unicorns and rainbows, even though I wish it was. Sometimes you have to do things that are uncomfortable to really make the impact that you want.
Yeah.
And also it's people forget
Yeah.
life is supposed to be fun, Kim.
Yeah.
Like the joy is supposed to be there.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because I had this idea about doing, which I may still do at some point, but I had this idea about doing a business and bourbon podcast. Okay. And I recorded a couple of episodes like by myself, just talking to the audience. And it was really pretty fun. And then I thought, oh, nobody just wants to hear me. I need to interview people. So I recorded 3 or 4 episodes, right, where I interviewed people. And actually, if I tell you that I was just like, why would anybody listen to these episodes? They're just so boring. And it was
Good
not
for you.
and it was not the people. It was that I couldn't find the direction. I didn't ask good questions. And then I didn't give them an opportunity to really shine. And so I never really launched it. It took me a really long time to launch this podcast because I came away with the belief that I'm really not a very good interviewer, right? That was what I felt like I learned from this other experience. And it took me a really long time to come up with the concept of this and what are good questions to ask that create the kinds of conversations that you and I are having. But it is interesting, right? Because we also sometimes have to question what we think we learned.
For sure. And can we use the F word here?
It's okay with me.
It's okay to fail.
There you go.
Failing is just learning.
There you go.
And I've always thought that. And people always say, don't say that. Don't
Yeah.
say that you failed. You didn't
Oh,
fail.
okay.
No, I have failed. I have failed. I have failed. I am not embarrassed to say that I have failed because my failures have helped me win.
There you go.
And so that's something I think, and good for you for trying it out. Look at the determination that you did a couple of episodes, right? And that's where you have the clarity. And I think that's the difference between expectation and reality, right? I would expect that having bourbon and having a conversation could be fun, but maybe it's
Yeah.
not, you're not having hot wings with it or whatever. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I don't know.
So,
I don't
but
know. I didn't figure it out. But here's the other actually, and you might know this, but it may happen. Stay tuned. But you know what the other thing is too, is that I was like, yeah, I'm bringing this up because you said it before. I'm like, maybe I can be like the bourbon TikTok lady because, of course, everybody wants to be, right, the
course.
TikTok lady.
Yeah.
So what's funny about that is that I looked. So then the first thing I did, first of all, TikTok is not my medium because I'm not on TikTok. Okay, that aside from that. But what's super interesting is that I looked for bourbon, like people on TikTok talking about or doing
Right.
bourbon. You know, what's really interesting is that there's not a lot on there. So I use technology, right? My best friend Chat GPT, and I asked the question, is is the opportunity there because there are not many people on there doing it? Or is there a reason why there are not more bourbon shorts or whatever on TikTok? And sure enough, there are restrictions on on content with alcohol. And I was like, isn't that interesting? Yeah, so I don't know now. So I don't think I'm gonna be the TikTok bourbon lady.
Do you
So,
like bourbon in general?
oh my gosh, I love bourbon.
You're a bourbon lover.
I am a bourbon lover. What is very funny, I'm in my office, I have 4 bottles of bourbon.
Ashley, what is your favorite brand?
I am actually I'm pretty bourbon agnostic, like, I really like all kinds of bourbon. I just opened a bottle of Blanton's, which I am very much enjoying. Yeah, yeah, but there's not a lot of bourbons that I don't like.
Got it. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, exactly. All right, but we do digress. Okay, last question is a two-parter. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome, or if you feel like that word is overused, I think when self-doubt creeps in. Okay. Two things. What circumstances are you going to be in when that is more likely to come up? And what do you do about it?
The circumstances that likely come up to feel that way, I think are two circumstances for me. One is I've now got into really acting as a fractional CMO for several companies in which it's a little bit different, right? They're not really hiring me as a consultant. They're hiring me as part of their chief team, which I take very seriously and I'm very humbled by it. And I take great honor, right, in doing so. And it's very hard when you're going into a company where everyone thinks they know better. And I think that is one of the biggest places I get that imposter syndrome, not because I don't think I should be in the role, but because I'm being questioned at every point in turn. And it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard when, you've been hired to do a job, but everybody else says what to do and how to do it and what they think you should be doing and what you're doing wrong. And it takes a certain type of person to be able to work through that and navigate through those
Yeah.
waters. And so that's one circumstance. I think the other circumstance, and I can't believe I'm revealing this to you. This is one of the reasons why I went back to school, is I have always listened really well. I pay great attention to detail. I read a lot. I love being educated. I come from a place where if I don't have the knowledge of something, I better learn it before I talk about it. That's just me. And it then ride with instinct and creativity and all that kind of jazz. But I come from a place of I want to know versus I just feel, right? Which I get. So I think the imposter syndrome sometimes comes when you're dealing in a much higher corporate situation where there's almost a different language that is being spoken, right? It's a very highfalutin, I call it the Wharton talk, right? Where everything has an acronym and there's all these phrases and dude, I literally have read Good to Great backwards and forwards. I know all the things are in there. Why are you quoting that? Like, why are you not using your own language? But it seems in those types of situations, it's like a moth to a flame. They attract more people who talk like that. And it becomes like a world where they're talking like a whole different language. And I'm standing there going, do I not understand this? Do I not know what these people know? Am I an imposter in the room that I am here as a chief executive and they're talking a different language? And now that I've been in school, you know what the answer is, Kim? I know exactly what they know, if not
Right.
more, because my EQ is so much higher than their IQ. But the reality is, I just choose not to talk like that. So now, because I have gone back to school, and I will say it has helped, I can stand in that room with my head held high and say, "Put Google Translate. I know exactly what you're saying. I choose not to respond in the same way. I'm going to respond in a different language because that's just who I am." So those are the two circumstances in which I.
Yeah. So you know what's interesting about that for me? So I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so Silicon Valley. But I've never really been I've worked with a number of tech companies, but I am not a part of the valley. So I've been a consultant. It was when I was there, it was Facebook, not Meta, but I've done work there. I did some trainings, right? In, out, right, done. What is very interesting is when I would go down to networking events in the valley, the first thing even other consultants are going to say to you is, "Where did you work? And who have you worked with?" And if you can't name off 5 name brand companies, they're super uninterested in you, right? And also to not being a part of it's really a very different culture. Again, with a different language, all the things that you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And I felt bad, right? Because I couldn't give the answers that they were looking for. You know what I decided? That's not my world. There's lots of other places where I can hang out where people do not base my worth on what I can say as where I worked. And I'm like, they're just not my people, as opposed to there being something wrong with me. But I will tell you, it was a journey to get there, right?
As always, of course. You know what it makes you? I think I try to remind myself, you know what? I'm in the room. I'm here for a reason. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be invited to the room if I wasn't one of everybody else here. Do you know what I mean? If I didn't belong.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm still the oak tree in the room and I'm not bending and swaying my branches like everybody else. I'm just
Right.
standing firm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I love that. That's a great tip for the listener, right? Like you're in the room. And
you're in
that's
the room, right? You made
Yeah.
it. You know,
You
it's like
made it. Exactly.
I do Peloton, and one of the Peloton instructors, Jess Sims, says every time, the minute the workout begins, you already did the hard part because you decided to be here.
That's
So
right.
welcome, right? So the hard part is over. If someone's having imposter syndrome, my answer would be, you're in the room. Own it.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I was listening literally earlier today when I was driving a podcast, Michael Rubin, Fantastics. He was an entrepreneur from 13 years old onward. He's one of those very rare breeds of always been an entrepreneur and figured it out. And he really made so many things happen that you would think were impossible at a very young age. And he just said exactly what you said. You have to have a propensity towards action.
Yeah.
It's like the interviewer says, "How did you make that happen?" And he didn't use this word, but the word I would he's just tenacious.
yeah, yeah.
And also too, you walk in and you're like, you're ready to do the deal. It's incredible. And this is not the where you started with the fake it till you make it. This is I have conviction.
That's what I said. I'm going to do it my way.
That's right.
And my way, and I want to say this as a consultant, is what you're paying me for. I'm here to collaborate. I'm here to be your team member. I'm here to be your cheerleader, your supporter, your leader, whatever role you want me to take. But at the end of the day, you're paying me for me. And I think that's something really important. And I think especially, I wanted to say again, women in particular, we doubt ourselves so much more just because of the culture we live in. And even though equality has gotten so much better and things are a much more firm ground for everyone, I think women still doubt ourselves. We just do.
Sure.
It's in our nature. It's who we are. It's what we hear. It's the doom scrolling because you have so much competition. It's all of that. But again, maybe at a different age, I think once I hit 40, I'm being totally serious. I think just things switched for me. And also I see things differently, right? When you can step back and you go, huh, look at who's in the room. Look who's right by my side. Give yourself a little fist bump. You go.
Amen to that. Yeah,
Right.
love that.
You go. Let's go. So it's
All
hard.
right.
It's you just got to take that moment. So yes and yes.
Ashley, this has been a phenomenal conversation. So many nuggets and gems for not just for the listener, but also I think for me. So I just thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. My guest today has been Ashley Bundis. I am Kim Miller-Hershon, Kim Miller-Hershon Coaching and Consulting, and the host of Unconventional Wisdom about conventional wisdom. And you know the stuff you're supposed to do now. You're supposed to download and listen and share and all the stuff. And thank you for listening. Go out there and be a better human.
Where cliches come to retire. Drop that beat, turn down to fire. Say what's real, make fears take a seat. Unconventional wisdom, dancing on your feet.